Frequently, we have difficulty achieving our goals. We may see others accomplishing wonderful things and question, why can't I do the same? The Mahabharata brings us a story that can help us to understand what we may be lacking. One day, Dronacharya, the martial teacher of both the Pandavas and the Kauravas, decided to test his students' abilities. This was long before the battle of Kurukshetra, when the princes were just starting their training. He placed a wooden doll in the form of a bird hugging a tree. Calling together all the young princes, he said to each of them, "Take your bows and aim for the bird's eye. One by one, I shall call you forward to shoot." The first to be called was Yudhishthira. When he had placed an arrow on his bow and aimed, Drona said, "O prince, tell me, what do you see?" Yudhishthira replied that he saw his brothers, Drona, the tree, and the bird. Yudhishthira was famous for never telling lies. Therefore, when asked by Drona, he couldn't do anything but to answer honestly. Drona asked him again and again what he saw, and each time received the same reply. Drona then reproached him and told him to stand down without firing his arrow. "You will not be able to hit the mark," he said with annoyance. Duryodhana was the next to be called. When he was ready to shoot, Drona asked him the same question. Different from Yudhishthira, Duryodhana was not so truthful, but still he could not understand what was the answer that the teacher was expecting. Without any better answer, he just described what he was seeing, just like Yudhishthira. Again Drona was displeased and told him to stand down. One by one, the princes were called and each responded to Drona similarly and was not allowed to shoot at the bird. Finally, Arjuna was called. When he was prepared to shoot and was standing with his bow drawn in a semicircle, Drona said, "Tell me what you see. Can you see myself, your brothers, and the tree?" Arjuna replied, "I can only see the bird. I cannot see you, or my brothers, nor the tree." Drona was pleased. He waited a moment and asked, "If you see the bird, then please describe it to me." Arjuna responded, "I see only the bird's head. I cannot see its body." Drona felt his hair stand on end with delight. He said, "Shoot!" Arjuna released his arrow and despite the long distance was able to hit the wooden bird exactly in the eye, sending it tumbling to the ground. Arjuna was quite a natural and gifted archer. However, his mastery with the bow was fruit of his dedication. He would train all day long, waking up before the others and going to sleep later. He trained in the dark, under the rain, and even with his eyes closed. And thus he was able to master the art of shooting arrows fast and accurately in the most diverse situations. Above all that, however, he was able to fully concentrate on what he was doing, without allowing his mind to be distracted by other thoughts. This was actually the great secret of Arjuna's success. One of the secrets to achieve goals in life, be these goals material or spiritual, is to focus our attention on what we are doing. One of the reasons we have difficulty concluding important tasks is because we are not capable of focusing our attention. Just like the other princes, we remember many different details about our day, remember to check our messages on Facebook, make jokes with friends, and so on. It happens that the capacity of any human being in multitasking is very limited. We are just like an old computer with very little RAM memory that has to completely shut down an application in order to load another, making the switching between different applications very slow. Just like the computer, we have a limited functional memory. When we start some activity, the brain takes some time to retrieve all the information related to that particular task and store it in the functional memory, so we can start working efficiently on it. If at some point our attention is diverted and we have to change to a different activity, like answering a message on a completely different subject, all of this is lost and we have to start from zero. It can take a long time before we can again reach the same state. If we are being constantly interrupted, then it's improbable that we can conclude any difficult task at all. If we completely focus our attention, we will be able to achieve much more, just like Arjuna. This is a process that may start with simple changes like turning off the phone at certain times when we have to concentrate on creative tasks and continuing up to deeper changes. As in most other situations in life, when we can recognize the problem, we can start looking for solutions. By using our intelligence, we can start to systematically avoid sources of distraction and gradually improve our mental control. The practice of meditation, especially the chanting of the Maha Mantra in beads, can enormously help on that, not only calming and disciplining the mind, but also giving us spiritual strength to be able to see things in the proper perspective, and thus not be anxious about things that are irrelevant or that are simply not under our control. In the early chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes the process of karma yoga, or action in Krishna consciousness. This is a process that consists in executing our daily activities as an offering to the divine. It's a very down-to-earth process of self-realization that results in a change of consciousness and not necessarily a change in one's activities or occupation. If one executes his activities with the proper consciousness as an offering to the Supreme in Karma Yoga and is at the same time capable of remaining fully concentrated on what he is doing, he actually achieves a state of samadhi, the most elevated platform in yoga. Because the divine is absolute, there is no difference between being concentrated in direct meditation or in activities executed in karma yoga.